Good morning. It's April the 18th, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News, live here from the Legacy420.com news desk at paceradio.net. Good morning, Glenn. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Al. I'm in a new home.
The
Not
new
not
home,
not
you got
quite
all
unpacked.
moved?
Sorry. I'm on a different computer. I'm not used to it, so I hope I don't screw up the whole broadcast.
Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, this a different system in front of you, but you'll get by. But you got moved into the new place, and you'll
We're
probably be a few more weeks
put
unloading,
it
unpacking.
put it this way. Our stuff is here, but we're really not moved in.
You got the necessities
Yeah.
hooked up. The TV.
We have internet. That's a great thing, you know. We have a big TV and we have internet, and I can do the show now.
Good. All righty. So you'll be a little while settling in, I would assume.
I would assume it looks to me like maybe a good year before we get everything unpacked. There's a lot of boxes. I can't find the cord for my computer. That's why I'm on this.
Oh, well, at least you found your laptop.
I found the laptop. I might have to go buy a new cord for
You
it.
might have to go buy a new cord.
Yeah.
That's a lot easier than going and buy a new laptop.
Yeah. I probably need one now anyway.
Probably. I know. I feel mine's 5 years old. It's still going.
This one's only 3 years old, but it wasn't a great model when I got it. So.
Oh yeah. All righty. We'll get started with the news. Here we go. First up, this one comes to us from MJ Biz Daily, and the headline says, "No cannabis excise tax relief in 2024 in the Canadian budget."
Canada's legal cannabis industry is not getting any excise tax relief from the Liberal government's 2024 budget. The budget comes shortly after two separate recommendations to the government proposing reform or review of the cannabis excise tax structure. One from the House of Commons Standing Committee on Finance, and the other from a legislative review recreational cannabis legislation or legalization.
Although those recommendations might have raised some hopes within Canada's legal cannabis sector, insiders told MJ Biz Daily that the odds of excise tax reform in this year's budget was uncertain. Any remaining hopes for a tax cut were dashed when the budget was released late Tuesday afternoon.
The 430-page primary budget document mentions the word cannabis only once as part of a government plan to introduce legislation that would allow Indigenous governments to create their own value-added sales taxes on certain goods, including cannabis. Canopy Growth Corp. CEO David Klein said in an emailed statement that the Ontario-based company was disappointed that the Canadian government missed the opportunity to address the flawed excise tax regime in today's budget.
I just wanted to address the paragraph before that. We were talking about the added sales tax on certain goods. Within the Cannabis Review Act final report, they recommend that within the Indigenous communities to start adding sales tax to tobacco, alcohol, gasoline, as well as cannabis.
And in the end, somehow the government wants to get their hands on some of that money.
It's a sharing. Yeah, that's right. It was a sharing proposal.
That's all it is. They're going to get some tax money where they're not getting any right now.
Yeah. Now, to continue on the story, Klein goes on to say that this oversight signals a lack of commitment to the legal cannabis industry, as well as the jobs and economic growth we create. The failure to correct this broken tax regime and to leave other critical issues like potency limits unaddressed will continue to hinder the growth of legal cannabis businesses and compromises consumers' access to safe, regulated products. Oh, we don't want to raise tax on the higher potency. Come on now, Mr. Klein.
Canada's cannabis excise tax structure is regularly cited as the top issue facing licensed cannabis producers. The excise tax is levied before cannabis products reach consumers, who also pay sales taxes upon purchase. Sounds like a Ponzi scheme to me.
Tax on tax. Cannabis flower and pre-rolls are taxed at either a flat rate of $1 Canadian or 10% of the gram wholesale price, whichever is greater. And right now, the dollar is a greater end of things. In light of significant price compression in Canada's cannabis market, however, the 10% rate rarely applies. A government briefing note to Canada's financial minister acknowledged.
And cannabis extracts and concentrate products are taxed at 0.01 per milligram of THC. As MJ Busy Daily has reported, unpaid cannabis excise taxes have been piling up, with the government finding that some unpaid excise taxes are uncollectible.
And the Canadian government also increased cannabis industry regulatory fees this month. Yeah, they didn't
Makes
get
sense.
they didn't get the reduction in the tax or reworked tax, but instead they got fee increases earlier in the year.
I love that.
Month.
Everybody's saying that we need some relief from these huge taxes that they're piling on cannabis. So what do? They add more. They put regulatory fees.
Yeah. All righty, on to the next story. This one comes to us from CTV News. Okay, headline there says that Kitchener psilocybin shop reopens after 2 police raids in 1 week.
Guy's got some cojones, I'll give him that. A magic mushroom store in Kitchener has reopened its doors after a pair of raids by police. The Kitchener Fun Guys location was once again open for business on Wednesday after Waterloo Regional Police raided the store on April 10th and April 13th, seizing products and making arrests.
Waterloo Regional Police Services Chief Mark Crowell was asked about the reopening at Wednesdays following the police services board meeting. He says, "We're making our best efforts from an enforcement standpoint to conduct investigations that will lead to, hopefully, the closure of these businesses. But there's a process that's involved. So we're looking for local support from the courts and the Crown Attorney's office locally with the charges that have been laid. We're also looking to coordinate this from a provincial standpoint because there are other jurisdictions that have this business operating as well."
He added the police will use whatever means they can to continue to take action against the stores. Speaking Monday, CTV News public safety analyst and former Ontario Provincial Police Commissioner Chris Lewis said the stores are illegal. The raids cost taxpayers money.
He says, you're taking a number of officers off what they normally would be doing. There is no end to the work that's available to them out there. So for them to prepare a warrant, execute that warrant, put people before the courts, it's a lot of work. Lewis also said the police have more serious and potentially more harmful drugs to focus on.
Psilocybin can be physically harmful, but on the big scale of things, when you look at opioids that are actually a very micro dot of them can actually kill somebody, there's not that physical danger immediately in terms of fatality. For the moment, it appears as though the owners of psilocybin shops have no plans to shut down for good.
No, they don't. No. Now, Fun Guy's lawyer, Paul Lewin, who we know, he says this is like some kind of terrible drug war anarchism from some other era that shouldn't even be on the books, and we're hopefully going to change that.
I hope he's right, and I think he is.
Yeah, I think he is too.
I just don't know how far they're willing to go, like how open it's going to be.
Yeah, well, I can see them. Well, they have the SAP program right now, which has its problems and big issues.
Yeah.
Because people still can't really access it, and that's the problem.
Even
There's no access.
even people that could legally access it for years, all of a sudden they're finding out they can't access it anymore. I don't understand it, but
yeah, matter of time.
I think what they're going to do is the same thing they did with cannabis. They're going to take these stores and completely put them out of business and open up their own stores because there's more money to be made that way.
I think I see them going more towards the medicinal end versus the recreational end. So I don't
Yeah,
know about the storefronts end of stuff, but
yeah.
it's a matter of time. All we can do is sit back and watch and get involved when we need to, and go from there.
What happens with cannabis could happen with them. We go medical
Oh,
first, and then it opens up. You know.
for sure. And a lot of people have said the same thing. It's following the same footsteps as what cannabis was.
Yeah,
This one may just be a little quicker
yeah.
in the
I,
process. So.
I think so because we've already been through the cannabis part of it. You know.
And no one's smoking mushrooms.
Yeah, yeah. This is true.
I think that was part of the big hurdle with the cannabis end of things was the smoking. And there's no smoking with the mushrooms. So,
Yeah.
all righty. On to our next story. Police officers. Police officer turned cannabis gardener jailed. And this comes to us from the BBC.
Okay, a former police officer from Albania has been jailed for growing hundreds of cannabis plants in an industrial unit in West Lothian. Igli Duka, 24, was arrested after police raided a former garage building in Houston Industrial Estate in Livingston last year.
He claimed a notorious gangster he had previously arrested in his home country had blackmailed him into being the gardener for the cannabis farm. Duca said the gangster had threatened his family once he was out of police custody.
Duca's lawyer, Andy Aitken, claimed the high ranking gang member had bribed his way out of custody. The advocate told Livingston Sheriff Court the gang member had then told the accused and his family that he held them responsible for the 50,000, or with 62,000 US, he had paid for his freedom.
Mr. Aiken said Duca had escaped to the UK in fear of his safety and found work on a building site in Birmingham. His family fled to Greece, but his father was forced to return to Albania due to health problems. And I got the hiccups.
But he claimed the gang caught up with his father and forced him to reveal Duca's whereabouts. Duca was given the choice of tending the cannabis farm or facing severe repercussions for his family in Albania, Mr. Aiken told the court.
He said his situation is accepted by the Crown, but it doesn't amount to a defense of coercion. He had the opportunity on numerous occasions to go to the police, but he didn't.
His view was that the police in UK wouldn't be able to assist with the safety of his family in Albania. Mr. Aiken added he was not involved in the setup of this operation. He wasn't involved in any plans for ongoing distribution. And most importantly, he made no money or any gain in relation to his involvement in this crime.
Maddie Jones, prosecuting, told how police who were sent to the factory unit noticed a strong smell of cannabis and heard a loud mechanical humming coming from inside. The officer found hundreds of fully grown cannabis plants being cultivated over 2 floors.
A police dog handler searching the building was led towards the back door where Duca was found hiding and he was arrested. Duca, a prisoner at HMP Adiwell, pleaded guilty to producing the Class B drug.
Sheriff Peter Hammond highlighted that Duca had entered the UK illegally and remarked that as of the Home Office were aware of his situation, he faced being deported. During the sentencing, he told the accused, "This is a serious offense of producing a controlled drug, in this case, cannabis."
It's quite clear this was a large, organized commercial operation and that you were a small cog. Nevertheless, those in charge of the production of illegal drugs rely on people such as you to grow their valuable and illegal crop. He sentenced Duca to 2 years in prison, dated back to 22 September 2023, when he was first remanded in custody.
So he'll be out in 2025.
Yep, sounds like it.
Time served is he's being credited for the time served.
Yeah, and if he is, sometimes like Canada, we double that. You know, before
Yeah,
their sentence.
yeah. Well, there you go. Just because you're a police officer doesn't mean you can break the law, right?
Unfortunately, it is law.
On our next story here, this is one's coming to us from CBC, And the headline on it says that Winnipeg police search Spirit Rising House homes after allegations workers gave cannabis to kids in care. This is a follow-up story that because this came out back a couple months ago, and so this is a follow-up to that.
Okay. Winnipeg police executed search warrants on several Spirit Rising homes following allegations the foster home operator gave cannabis to kids in child and family services care, CBC News has learned. Police executed the warrants last Friday, removing computers and other files, according to the former employees.
Winnipeg police confirmed to CBC News their child abuse unit is investigating the company, but declined to comment on Friday's search. The Winnipeg-based for-profit company ran 9 foster homes and 2 specialized group homes for 34 high-risk youth and child and family services care before the government cut ties with it in February.
That followed an investigation that found workers were giving kids in care a daily dose of cannabis as a means of harm reduction, sometimes in lieu of weekly cash allowance. A former Spirit Rising House employee said the detective from the Winnipeg Police Child Abuse Unit recently interviewed her, as well as another former employee and a current employee. Several other employees told CBC News that they were also questioned by police.
Yeah, the worker says that they asked me what my experience was with providing weed. They asked me about what the girls were given in terms of grocery money, allowance, clothing, money, rec money, and it mentions they're not reporting their names. But the police also asked her whether programming and therapeutic supports were being offered to the kids in care.
A spokesperson for Families Minister Nahanni Fontaine said the minister is aware of the ongoing police investigation, but questions about it should go to police. There's still some youth still living in Spirit Rising House homes, but the majority have been moved out, said Ryan Stetler.
Our number one priority continues to ensure the safety of children as they transition to appropriate placements out of the Spirit Rising House. At least $2.4 million was paid to the company through the Southern First Nations Network of Care from April of 2022 to December of 2023 for the care of 22 teens.
The province gave Spirit Rising House over $1 million from April 2021 until January of this year, according to figures provided by a department spokesman. The ownership group of Spirit Rising House declined to comment on the ongoing investigation. I find this very strange. Like, well, why would they do this and jeopardize all the money?
Because some of the kids had addiction issues. If you notice, it said harm reduction.
Yeah.
There was kids that were there, and they said 2 specialty houses. Kids that are dealing with addiction issues.
So,
And they
so
were
I don't
giving.
understand it because they know that
Pardon?
they can't supply this to them.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
Right, but they did it anyway.
they did it anyways.
And this is,
And you know, they had been going on for a few years, and the government, because the house was doing so good, or the reports that were on it were so good, that the government turned around and gave them even more money. Right, so they were making progress, I would say, with the kids, but they were using cannabis to help the kids, but they weren't informing anybody. It was all done behind everybody's back.
yeah, that's
Nothing
what I
was
don't
approved.
understand. That's the part I don't understand. If I was the owner of this business and I'm a cannabis advocate, I would not be giving these kids cannabis because you literally lose your business like they just did.
Well, yeah, they
You
are.
know,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to me. You allow, you treat them, you help them without doing something illegal. You know, it's a weird thing to me.
Yeah. They did it to help the kids, but they did it illegally.
Yeah, and you know what
Yeah.
would happen? Say a seniors home gave their seniors psilocybin right now. They would shut down that home.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Just say
And this is what
yeah.
the same kind of thing. I don't understand the owners of these homes allowing this to happen. You know, that's what blows me away.
Yeah.
And not that I disagree with what they were doing. I don't.
Correct. Yeah. Yep. Break time. Time for us to take a break, and When we get back, we'll continue these stories. And as we go into break, I'm going to let everybody know about the Indigenous Legacy 420 event this Saturday down at Legacy 420 in Tioga. I'll never ever get their name of their reserve right, but Tioga. Yeah, it's a tongue twister. I have a speech impediment that screws things up. All right. So we're going to play that. We'll go on the commercial break, and then we'll be right back. You're watching Psychedelics Cannabis Educational News here at paceradio.net. Hey, what are you doing this 420? Whatever you're doing, make sure to stop into Legacy 420 because the Indigenous owned and operated organic medical cannabis company is having an Indigenous themed 420 celebration. When you arrive, stop into the vending area featuring the local artisans and check out the fish, corn soup, Indian tacos, and other Indigenous foods that are being prepared throughout the day. Whatever you do, also make sure to bring your pets as they have their own area to bounce around in. And while you're there, take some time to talk to Ollie Dog, who will answer all your pet-related cannabis questions. And for you, don't forget to check out the free cannabis-infused samples. This 420, make sure to stop into 346 York Road on the Tioga Mohawk Territory, home of Legacy 420, where the Indigenous medical cannabis legacy continues. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net. Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Cannabis edibles are an effective way to manage pain and other ailments, especially when you deal with your trusted partner, Legacy 420, in Tyendinaga Mohawk Territory. You see, we lab test every product on site to ensure proper dosage every time, which is critical when consuming cannabis edibles. All Legacy 420 edibles are made by our classically trained baker and chocolatier, and we also have super tasty vegan options.
Our baker has been in the industry for 25 years. She's also a chocolatier. Everything from savory to sweet, your chocolate bars, brownies, butter tarts, you name it, we make it.
Talk to our knowledgeable Cannatex about our incredible variety available. Give your trusted partners a call. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net. And we're live with Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. Well, Glenn, see, we got 5 stories. This next one, very interesting. Very, very interesting. This gives some dating to let people know that cannabis it was around a lot sooner than the 1960s, I can tell you. All right, here we go. This one comes to us from Newsweek. Headline says, mysterious burnt seeds found in Roman pot may be cannabis. And they're not talking pot as cannabis. They're talking about, pot, a container.
Archaeologists have uncovered a Roman pot containing a set of mysterious seeds that may be from the cannabis plant. The pot was unearthed during excavations conducted at the site of an energy-generating facility between Saltholm Nature Reserve and the village of Cowpenbooley in the district of Stockton-on-Tees, northeastern England. Geez, those are pretty hard names to say.
The site sure are. The site preserves remains from Britain's Roman period, which lasted from AD 43 to AD 410, including evidence of settlement and agricultural activity. The excavations conducted by the Green Man Archaeology took place during the COVID-19 lockdowns of 2021 and 2020 and 2021. But the backlog of post-dig laboratory work is only just coming to an end.
This lab work involves sorting and cleaning artifacts that have been found, as well as sending finds to specialists for assessment. There we go. Among the most intriguing finds was a battered and burnt beaker, identified as having originated from the valley of the River Nene, which runs through eastern England. Inside the vessel contained a number of seeds that resembled those of the cannabis plant.
The beaker was not washed, along with the other pottery sherds found at the site, and was immediately sent to a lab to see if the seeds could be positively identified as cannabis. Pottery finds. Lost it. Stop jumping around. Pottery finds are routinely washed before they are sent for analysis. But one of our staff had the prep and left it in situ and sent it for analysis. Chronology.
Cannabis was known to the ancient Romans, and evidence suggests it was used medicinally and for industrial purposes, such as making hemp ropes. Hemp is a type of cannabis plant that has long been cultivated for a wide variety of industrial uses. Hemp and the drug cannabis come from the same species, Cannabis sativa, but the hemp has much lower levels of the compound THC, which is a psychoactive substance responsible for the high effect of cannabis. As the Roman Empire expanded, products made from the cannabis plant spread along with it. For example, the Romans were thought to be responsible for introducing cannabis to the British Isles. Evidence includes a well rope made from hemp found at a Roman fort in Dumbartonshire, Scotland, that was occupied from AD 140 to 180.
Oh, come on. Oh, okay, the screen just keeps bouncing on me. Welch says that at that point, all Roman hemp products in Britain are thought to have been brought from the continent as army supplies rather than imported. But some research on pollen from soil samples had suggested that cannabis plant cultivation did not begin in Britain until around the end of the Roman period, as Germanic Anglo-Saxon peoples were settling on the island.
If the seeds from the pot found in Stockton-on-Tees do turn out to be from the cannabis plant, this could provide evidence of a possible ritual or recreational use of cannabis in Roman Britain. According to Welsh, however, the presence of cannabis has yet to be confirmed.
So hopefully they can confirm this. We'll look for a follow-up on this story, because that's pretty old. That's pretty old when it's an AD.
We're talking 2,000 plus years, right? So and I know in China it's 3,000 plus years they found them. So they've been around cannabis been around forever.
Yeah. Well, I know the one that they found that was 2,700 years old.
That
this
in
was
China?
a few years back. Yeah, in the tombs. Yeah. So, all right. On to the next story. This one comes to us from the International Cannabis Business Conference. Headline says, Industrial Hemp Bill is defeated in Bulgaria. What?
Prior
Defeated.
to cannabis being enacted across the globe, the hemp plant was widely used by different societies around the world. The hemp plant is arguably the most versatile plant on earth and can be used as an input for everything from textiles to wellness products. One of the many examples of how hemp plant can be used is hemp fiber. Humans have used the hemp plant to make fibers for a multitude of purposes for centuries. In fact, archaeologists and historians have confirmed that ancient civilization in China used hemp fiber to make pottery going back as far as 4000 BC.
Many countries around the world have already modernized their policies to permit industrial hemp production and processing, with many more being in the process of making such policy changes. Unfortunately, Bulgaria is not one of them. An industrial hemp processing measure was recently defeated in Bulgaria. In a first reading procedure on Wednesday, the National Assembly defeated a bill to amend and supplement the Control of Narcotic Substances and Precursors Act, moved by MP Rosen Kosterkov of Continue the Change, Democratic Bulgaria. The bill was supported by 49 members of the CCDB. Another 81 members voted against, and 31 abstained from voting.
The changes were aimed to provide a possibility to process industrial hemp in Bulgaria, in addition to growing the plant. It would make it legal for plants of the hemp family, cannabis, intended for making products without a psychoactive effect, to be processed by permission of the Minister of Agriculture. Bulgaria's customs agency helped doom the measure by its opposition, citing a lack of resources to test harvest to see if it has a low enough THC content. A lack of laboratory capacity was specifically cited as part of the agency's opposition. That's a pretty easy hurdle to overcome, though. One lab, done.
Yeah. From a purely scientific standpoint, hemp is cannabis, which is why many civilizations have often referred to all cannabis as hemp. However, in recent years, many governments around the globe have created policies and rules that distinguish hemp from a non-hemp cannabis with THC content, being the separating criteria. For instance, currently in the United Kingdom, cannabis harvests that contain 2.2% or lower THC are considered to be hemp. Above the 0.2 THC threshold is non-hemp. In the United States, the threshold is 0.3. Well, big difference, eh? And other countries allow it to go as high as 1%.
Yeah.
So there you go. And I reported on Monday of a place that if you get caught if you're growing hemp and your hemp exceeds 1%, they're talking like 5 years in jail.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's changing. It's just really slow in some of these countries.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. There's so many benefits to the hemp and
this one here doesn't make any sense to me either, because they could have enacted the 2% or 0.3% and opened up a lab, and that's it. It's so simple, so easy. You enact the legislation as long as the lab's open.
Well, you get I believe they do it here, and I believe they do it in the U.S. too, is where they just come in and do a random sample.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest way to do, and one lab could do that easy.
Yeah, but
we're not even talking about cannabis. We're talking about hemp here.
I know. All right. On to the next story. This one's coming to us from Global News. Headline says 7 face charges after New Brunswick cannabis dispensary raids.
7 people have been arrested after 3 cannabis dispensary busts across New Brunswick earlier this month. In a release, the Department of Justice and Public Safety said officers executed a search warrant at Cloud9 Vape in St. John on April 5th.
Officers said they seized 1.4 kilograms of dried cannabis, 84 grams of hash, 212 pre-rolled joints, 25 packs of shatter, 15 distillate cartridges, 21 THC vape pens, 26 packs of gummies, 73 flavored nicotine vapes, and $1,000 in cash. The release says that a 35-year-old St. John's man, a 22-year-old St. John man, and a 25-year-old woman from St. John were arrested and face charges under the Federal Cannabis Act.
All three were released from custody and will appear in court at a later date. Officers also executed a search warrant at Queen E Smoke and Vape outlet in Riverview on April 5th. Sorry.
They say they seized 1.83 kilograms of dried cannabis, 97 packages of edibles, 16 grams of hash, 176 pre-rolled cannabis joints, 24 grams of shatter, 49 flavored nicotine vapes, and $2,100 in cash.
A 57-year-old Moncton man and a 42-year-old Moncton woman and a 23-year-old Shediac man were arrested and also face charges under the Federal Cannabis Act. They have court appearances scheduled for June. Also, on April 4th, officers executed a search warrant at another Queen E Smoke and Vape outlet in Moncton.
They say they seized 1.25 kilograms of dried cannabis, 184 packages of edibles, 11 grams of hash, 295 pre-rolled joints, 5 grams of shatter, 40 flavored nicotine vapes, and $3,116 in cash. I could do that to a Christmas song. A 55-year-old woman from Maple Hills was arrested and faces the charge under the Federal Cannabis Act. She is scheduled to appear in court in June.
The release noted that there are also penalties for those who purchase and possess illegal cannabis, not just for those who sell and distribute it. Cannabis NB and approved private retail partners are the only legal retailers of cannabis products in New Brunswick. And what I say to that is BS. All the natives here have the legal right to sell it, period. So everything you buy on a reserve is legal.
Oh, on the reserves, yeah. I think, these places obviously weren't on the reserve. But
no, these places are off. And I have noticed lately that there's a lot of indigenous cannabis shops popping up in the city, not on the reserve, in the city. And they've never given up their treaty rights. So that's I've never seen one raided yet, but it will happen, and then we'll go to court and find out.
It'll be interesting. There's a few here in Ontario off reserve. I was downtown Toronto there a few weeks back, and I saw one. Iroquois Cannabis. It was beside a Fun Guys store.
I'm very interested myself in opening up one, and I don't know if I'm one to jump in instantly because I'm Métis, so I have like half status, not full status.
Right.
So it's kind of a gray area, and I guess even Indigenous cannabis stores off reserve are a gray area right now. So I'd be interested.
And that could come down to your province. In BC, they say it covers everybody, but
I think if I was in Alberta or Ontario, I'd have a much better chance because the Métis populations in those two provinces are huge, and maybe even Saskatchewan. But New Brunswick is very small Métis population here.
Oh, okay.
Maybe as much as 10 people, and they're all in my family. So it's kind of hard.
Oh. All right, we got two more stories to go, both coming from the marijuana moment, so hopefully they don't get too jumpy around on us. But the first one, the headline on it says that Schumer and other Democrats, Amplify, calls for marijuana reform ahead of 420, which Congressman says should be celebrated every day. Well, we do here.
Democratic senators, including Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, who's a Democrat from New York, are trying to recruit Republicans to join them in the push for federal cannabis legalization. Senate Finance Committee Chairman Ron Wyden, who's a Democrat from Oregon, said in an event ahead of 420, which another lawmaker said is a holiday that should be celebrated every day. This year, as advocates work to get reform across the finish line, At a press conference briefing by the Last Prisoner Project on Wednesday, multiple congressional champions of cannabis legalization marked progress in the fight to end prohibition. Schumer, along with Senators Elizabeth Warren, Jeff Markley, and Raphael Warnock, also shared thoughts about the status of the movement at another 420-oriented event.
As Schumer, where did it go? Jumped down. As Schumer, Wyden, and Senator Cory Booker prepare to file a bill to federally legalize cannabis later this month. Wow, really? Let's get at her, boys, because it's taking too long now. Wyden says the trio are outright now trying to recruit Republicans to join in.
I want you to hear what my message is. I'm going to say one word: deschedule. He said, descheduling ought to be a Republican dream. Sometimes I think they're only for states' rights, and if they think the state is right. Schumer, only if they think the state is right. Schumer, meanwhile, applauded advocates and discussed his work on legalization and cannabis banking reform in a pre-recorded video that was shared with Marijuana Moment ahead of a national cannabis policy summit on Wednesday. Yeah, I love that. They're for states' rights.
Screen.
They're for states' rights as long as they do what they want them to do.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh, come on, screen. Wednesday. Come on, I gotta get below this ad here. My commitment to ending federal prohibition on cannabis remains as strong as ever, he said. As many of you know, cannabis reform is an issue I've cared about and I've been working hard on for years. And as many as you know, momentum is now in our favor. Here in Congress, we're making some good progress, he says, pointing to the Senate Banking Committee passage of the Senate Fair Enforcement Regulation Safer Banking Act last September. Schumer also retaliated his interest in attaching a measure to incentivize state-level cannabis expungements to the legislation when it's brought to the floor.
The majority leader also talked about his forthcoming Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act to legalize cannabis. Cannabis legalization has proven successful at the state level. It's high time that Congress catches up with the rest of the country, said Schumer. Of course, we know none of this is easy, especially in a divided government. We need all of you to continue reaching out to members, especially Republican members, so we can make cannabis reform a reality. You waste your time.
Warren was also featured in a pre-recorded video where she emphasized that it's time to legalize cannabis. Communities, activists, people like you have been fighting to deschedule cannabis for decades, but here's the thing. Republicans in Congress are blocking legislation to legalize it. Think of it this way. Descheduling is a tool that we can use to get this done without Republican obstruction.
We need help to keep up our fight to deschedule and legalize cannabis nationwide, she said. And I'm really glad to have all of you as partners in this fight. Let's get it done. Warnock said in his own video addressed to advocates that the work of many you have done to break down stigmas and address barbaric criminal penalties while building a diverse culture within the cannabis community cannot be overstated.
He goes on to say, while there is still a lot more work to be done, we should be proud of the progress made and renew our efforts in this fight. I hope this optimism and commitment to restorative justice, to equity, is evident throughout your discussions today, and I look forward to seeing your continued success. Keep the faith and keep looking up.
Back at the LPP
event.
Sorry, go ahead.
Keep going. No, keep going.
Back at the LPP event, Congressional Cannabis Caucus founding co-chair Representative Earl Blomhauer, who's a Democrat from Oregon, touted his 51 years of work to reform state and federal cannabis laws. He also said it's appropriate that advocates and lawmakers are celebrating 420 3 days early because this year we ought to be celebrating 420 every day. Forces are aligned to be able to end this failed war on drugs and mobilize unprecedented support across the country, he said. And frankly, the Biden administration has been doing a little realignment, which I welcome. But it's time to not just realign, but get it done.
Get it done. Yeah. Blumauer goes on to say that President Biden, if I was interested in mobilizing young people, if I was interested in energizing them, this is no brainer. Carefully. Oh, come on. Okay, I think I've got screen jumping around just makes it hard to do, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've
Do you want me
lost
to
it
read
now.
Okay. Merkley
Yeah, go
also
ahead.
spoke at the event promoting a bipartisan cannabis banking bill while arguing that it's long past time to deschedule cannabis. He added that while rescheduling cannabis, as the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has recommended, might be a step in the right direction, full descheduling would allow us to fully address the crime, the harms of criminalization, the prison sentences, the prison records, the fines, the access to public housing, access to nutrition assistance, and the deportations. On the Secure and Fair Enforcement Regulation, Banking Act, Merkley said, let's not let this year pass without getting this bill through Congress and onto the president's desk. Good luck with that one. We don't know what the next election
Yeah, exactly.
They don't know what the next election will bring, but let's get it done.
Rep Anna Priestley also said at the event that criminalizing cannabis is part of the failed war on drugs and sustained a mass incarceration crisis that was ravaged our communities, destabilized our families, and inflicted generational trauma. The Congresswoman applauded the Biden administration for issuing cannabis pardons, but urged the president to significantly expand clemency to the tens of thousands of people who remain incarcerated over cannabis. She said the issue is personal to her because one of her parents was incarcerated over a drug-related offense.
My story is hardly an anomaly, she said. When we're talking about the war on drugs, cannabis justice, and the shameful crisis of mass incarceration, there are no excuses for the problem. No excuses, but there is a solution, and clemency is part of that solution. Cannabis justice is a racial justice. Cannabis justice is economic justice. Cannabis justice is reparative. It is restorative justice, and the time to act is now, she said. Time to act was 25 years ago.
There you go. Yeah, longer than that. Now, continuation on that, because like the U.S., it just drives me up the wall that they've got all these places that it's legal recreationally as well as the medical end of things, but yet on the federal end of things, it's demonized. It still has a Schedule 1. There's the talk of rescheduling it to Schedule 3. But I think these people here on this next story by Marijuana Moment have got it right. And that is that the coalition of justice groups pushes Biden to support marijuana legalization instead of Schedule 3 move.
Yep. In a new letter to the White House, a group of 20 justice and drug reform advocacy organizations are calling on President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris to publicly support the removal of cannabis from the Federal Controlled Substances Act, rather than merely a move to Schedule 3, as the government is currently considering. Biden has said repeatedly during his campaign and term in office that no one should be in jail merely for the use or possession of cannabis. But advocates in the letter said that only the descheduling of cannabis will truly decriminalize it at the federal level. And they're dead right on that one.
Yeah. To fulfill his campaign pledge to decriminalize, the letter from the Marijuana Justice Coalition, which includes drug reformers, justice organizations, immigrant rights groups, and others, tells the president, you must begin to explicitly support the descheduling of marijuana from the CSA. It is incumbent upon you to call on Congress to pass descheduling legislation, such as the Senate-led Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act and the House-led Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act. It says, not only do these bills decriminalize cannabis through descheduling, they include your other campaign pledge on cannabis policy reform, automatic expungements, and establish programming for reinvestment in communities disproportionately targeted by cannabis criminalization.
And by contrast, the move to Schedule 3 would maintain the federal criminalization of cannabis, and most criminal penalties would remain unchanged. Mandatory minimums would still apply. Non-citizens would still continue to face deportation over low-level cannabis crimes, and patients such as veterans would continue to have to break the law to access state legal medical cannabis, MJC said. Your administration has the opportunity to finally have federal cannabis policy catch up to public opinion and the state legal landscape that is increasingly rejecting cannabis criminalization, the coalition wrote. In pardons over simple possession cases are a good first step, but as Vice President Harris recently said in the March 15th, 2024 roundtable conversation about cannabis reform, there is still much more to do.
Harris also said at the time that we need to legalize cannabis, but those remarks were made behind closed doors after the press had already been asked to leave the room. It jumped.
Biden, meanwhile,
okay.
both as
Biden, meanwhile, both.
Go ahead,
And while in office, has vocally supported limited cannabis reforms and taken concrete steps to review marijuana laws and forgive Americans with past convictions for minor cannabis crimes. But he's also consistently overstated the impact of his actions. For example, falsely claiming in this year's State of the Union address that his administration's recent pardons around cannabis expunged thousands of convictions. You did.
And during the speech last month, the social media post from Biden's office repeating that no one should be jailed just for using or possessing cannabis was by far his most popular of the night. Biden has continued to tout the cannabis rescheduling directive and cannabis pardons he's issued, including in a presidential proclamation declaring April 2nd Chance Month.
As for the ongoing, geez, this gets frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here we go. I'm almost there. Go ahead.
As for the ongoing review process that will eventually.
As for the ongoing review process.
Oh.
This is crazy. In the Schedule 3, the White House said this month is now up to the Justice Department to make a final decision on scheduling, adding that the Department of Health and Human Services recommendation to reclassify cannabis was guided by evidence. A full list of signatures on the MJC letter include Better Opportunity to Win Legalization, Center for American Progress, Clergy for a New Drug Policy, Doctors for Drug Policy Reform, Drug Policy Alliance, Immigrant Defense Project, Immigrant Legal Resource Center, Just Leadership USA, Minorities for Medical Marijuana, National Association of Criminal Justice Lawyers, National Association of Social Workers, National Immigration Project, National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, Southern Poverty Law Center, Students for Sensible Drug Policy, Ida Dwan Anti-Trafficking Initiative, Supernova Woman, The Hood Incubator, Vera Institute of Justice, and Veterans Cannabis Coalition.
Wow, that's a lot of groups. While the Drug Enforcement Administration has not given a clear sense of the timing for when it will complete and submit its cannabis review, there are heightened expectations that it will come before November's national elections, both because of past precedent in scheduling matters and because the Biden administration has become increasingly vocal about its role in facilitating the review. The head of the Food and Drug Administration under HHS told congressional lawmakers last week that there's no reason for the DEA to delay making a cannabis scheduling decision.
A DEA official noted recently that it sometimes takes up to 6 months for DEA to complete its analysis of health officials' scheduling recommendations, which is about how long it's now been since the agency began its current cannabis assessment. Oh, it's gone again.
Okay.
No, they're trying.
Meanwhile,
Hopefully they can. Yeah, I'm just gonna shut that story down.
okay.
Yeah, jitter jumpers all over the place. But yeah, it gets frustrating to me, and I hope they're right that they do something before November. This is the big time to do it. This is presidential election year, the whole bit.
But I can also see
it's
it's
got to
only
be
going
done.
to
It's just
Schedule
ridiculous.
3. You know, they're not gonna
Oh,
take
I
it off
know,
the
I
schedule.
know.
And that's
Yeah,
not enough.
and
It's not
it's
enough.
stated what this like this. There's people will still be charged. People will still be
And
low
all the
level
people that are in
cannabis
jail will
crime.
still be in jail.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense,
It's
and that's why
yeah.
it needs to be descheduled as
Especially
those.
the VA has been asking for this for years and
Yeah.
with no response. You know, I think there's a lot of medical people that need this and that should have been done decades ago.
Oh yeah. There's no doubt about that. All righty. Well, let's just hope that one day we got a news article that says that the U.S. federal government is legalizing cannabis.
The funny thing is, I can see psilocybin being legal there before.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't doubt
Would
it.
you have thought that 10 years ago, Al?
No, I
No
wouldn't.
way.
No, I wouldn't even thought it even now the way it's at now because there's so many states that where it is legal, and or at least medicinally
Yeah.
is it's accessible much better and easier than it is here in Canada.
Yeah.
So, all right, anything before you sign off?
Nope. Peace, everyone.
All right, everybody have a happy 420 this coming Saturday. I will be off celebrating my 39th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You survived.
Had never heard of I don't even think the 420 rallies marches were even going when I got married.
How many years?
39.
I'm 38.
38, there you go, eh?
Just means we're old.
Yeah, exactly. All right, from the Legacy420.com news desk, that's the Pace News Report for today. And for our buds at the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, Limestone City Hydroponics, and Legacy420.com, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20 is so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420 enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.